Hi there, I'm Matt Kemp from London's The Underground Cookery School, and today I'm going to show you some simple recipes which you're gonna love. Hi there, I'm going to show you how to make a millionaire shortbread. I've got a tray that I'm actually going to bake it in. The first thing I'm going to do is just rub a little bit of butter into the base, and I'm just going to rub it around the edges, and this is just so that the shortbread doesn't stick to the tin at the very end. And then maybe add 2 of those and just dot it around so that it's easy to get out of the tin at the very end. So if you like, that's stage 1 of the operation. And if you come in, that's what your tin should look like. What we're going to do is make the shortbread base now. So I've got some regular all-purpose flour, which goes into my bowl, and some caster sugar. Give that a good old mix. And I've now got some lumps of butter here. Now you can use a food processor for this, but I'm going to do it by hand, just because it's easier to demonstrate that way and less noisy as well. But I'm going to break up the butter in here, and then I'm going to just rub the butter in till I get a breadcrumb style consistency. Now this will take a few minutes. So I've just been combining together, and if you just come and have a look, you can see I've got an almost breadcrumb style consistency. But actually all I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this into the dish like this, and I'm then just going to pack it down, and it will create a very short dough. Now actually, funnily enough, I find one of the best tools to use for this is the back of a stainless steel spoon. You can really pack it down and you can get quite a nice smooth base. But what I'm going to do is, on about 150 degrees, I'm just going to bake this off for around about 20 minutes till it goes nice and hard. And then what we'll do is we'll put the caramel on top, and making the caramel is the next stage. So we're going to do that next. So that goes into the oven. Next, we're going to make the caramel. Well, I've got my butter here, so that's going to go in first, unsalted of course. And I've got some light muscovado sugar here as well, but before I put that in, I just want to get the butter going. Obviously it's really important when you're doing this to ensure that, I mean, I'm stating the obvious here, but you don't want to burn the butter in any way, so just keep an eye on it. Once the butter's completely melted, add the sugar and just whisk it in. So you've got a nice combination of the two. And at this point, you can then start adding the condensed milk. And I'm actually going to whisk it in off the heat. And then I'm going to slowly cook it down till I get a lovely rich caramel. So as you can see, all the while I'm just combining those ingredients to ensure that the fat doesn't separate from the milk. You just got to keep stirring. If you come in and just have a look at the condensed milk mixture, as you can see, it's thickening out quite nicely, or the caramel I should say. I'm just continuing to stir. You need to keep an eye on it just to make sure the ingredients don't split. And at the same time, what I'm going to do is I've got a pan of boiling water on the go here. Just going to turn that down a little bit, and I'm going to melt some chocolate in the pan, and that's going to form the basis of the topping for the caramel shortbread. Well, the shortbread's been baking off now for 20 odd minutes. I mean, when it's got a nice hard shell on top, you know, it's crisped up beautifully. That's all the cooking effectively done in the oven. Because what's happening now is we've got 2 things on here. Now the chocolate we're not going to use till much later, but I will explain a bit more about that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pour that in here. I'm going to leave it for about an hour to set, and then actually what I'll probably do is stick it in the fridge for another hour to set. And then at the very end, what we'll do is pour the melted chocolate on top. Now, I did want to show you how to do the melted chocolate, so as I discussed earlier, just boiling water, melt it in the bain-marie, that will pour on, and if you let that cool and then leave it to set for a further 15 minutes in the fridge, you've then got a beautifully set caramel shortbread. Well, that caramel's now set beautifully, and I've got our chocolate. Now, what I've actually done is, rather than putting the hot chocolate straight on the caramel, which will melt all the way through, I've melted it, but it's now cooled down. So of course we can now drizzle that over the top, like so. And then once I've covered it so that there's chocolate all over, we can set this in the fridge for an hour or two before turning out. Right, I'm going to run a knife round the edge, like that, all the way around. Now I'm actually going to let you into a secret. Before I filmed this, I actually went round with a knife and it took a lot longer than that. So if you find you have a problem at home, you're not hopeless, it's just the way it is. Let's tip this out. There we go. And put that down there. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut it in half, and then I'm going to cut it into little cubes, and then we'll plate it up at the end. You don't need to watch me cut the whole thing up, that could take some time. So that's how you make what's sometimes referred to as millionaire shortbread. I imagine because it's very rich. That is a caramel shortbread.